collectively, these four things, the costs are high, and we're saying the cost of living is too high. My opinion is when we are then supposed to go for a referendum, the most important thing that should be dwelt on is how to reduce the cost of food, how to reduce the cost of health, how to reduce the cost of transport, and how to reduce the cost of education. But it is clear, as per this point where we are, this government is not really concerned about lowering the cost of living. That was also confirmed to us even from the NATCO thing committee, because instead of this government lowering the cost of food, uh, the increasing taxes on even production level, so the cost of food is high. Instead of them lowering the cost of health, they are trying to bring so many taxes on health, what equipments, and there is increase in cost of health. Instead of them lowering the cost of transport, they are still increasing the cost of fuel. Instead of lowering the cost of education
M-
again,
Mr. Kevin, let me ask you, let me just
yes.
follow up with you. Is the role of government to lower the cost of living? That's I agree with you 100%. And if based on the negotiation whereby, as we now know, based on what the Prime Minister Raila Odinga said, like the government refused to talk even about the cost of the living, yeah, and they're the people controlling the government as opposition. What is the best thing that you could do? Because this is the government. The government should take care of its people. If the government refused to do that, you know, what should the opposition do? Because to me, I think that is a very good advantage for you as an opposition. Maybe you can prepare yourself for the next election, because because like they have the power. Yeah, you went to the boardroom and they've refused. They know how they say they have a way of how they are going to fix them through their bottom up. As an opposition, what should you do?
The role of opposition, according to this constitution, first is to counter check even the expenditure and how the government is running its the running of the governments.
Mhm,
I think, to me, the opposition, they're doing their work, but remember, there's a limit to which they should do it, and
mhm.
the constitution is very clear. There's a government in power; they must be given the time to do the running of the government. And again, it is up to the government to make decisions depending on the manifesto and the plans that they presented before the people on how they would run the government. So for that reason, somehow the opposition has done their work, and that is why we came to this NATCO committee. Remember,
Mhm.
previously we had issues with the cost of living and the electoral injustices, and that is why the opposition took their role and decided to encourage people to go for mandamano and demonstrations. Partly, that is the reason why they even stopped along the way when there
Mhm.
was the president or the running government accepted that they were going to have a sit down and discuss the issues that they were representing as the opposition or as the people.
Okay, I have a question for you,
Yes.
and it's about now. Just I want to major on the leadership. When you look at the history of Kenya, or the history, we've had negotiations, yeah, immediately after election, after election, because we usually disagree based on electoral processes, which is not done the way it should be done. And after that, we have negotiations. Then everything is done. So you see, like all these negotiations, what their main primary, if you analyze it well, it's to cool people down for a moment or get people off the street. Then they negotiate and everybody negotiate. Then people agree. Then in the process, we fail to fulfill some of the things that we have agreed on in the negotiation. Then we wait for another cycle, it comes and is that. Then when you look at our constitution, is one of the best, they say so. And everything that is wanted or anything that you want in terms of governance, it's there in the constitution. Does it mean that we don't have the spirit of good leadership, or what is happening to us as a country?
The problem you have as a country is the people who are in position, the leaders that are currently in office, there's this culture they have where once they get into power, they tend to not even follow the constitution. If really we were supposed to follow this constitution to the core, I'm quite sure that we would have one of the best leadership in Africa and maybe even in the continent, in the whole world. Like the issues that were even presented in this NATCO, like increase of like the issues of, for example, increase of the number of IBC officials, increase of county funds. These are things which are there in the constitution. But since these people get into power, they just fail to neglect their their role. And for that reason, we just these people are just trying to make it tougher for them so that at least they may find it, they may see the reason of doing it. But the problem we have as a country is the people are not really following the law. The people are not really doing what is right. So we have to go back as a people to try and restructure the constitution so that we make it a bit tougher, so that they would see the sense of following it.
Okay, Miguda, let me ask you too. When you look at, I think it's Article 51, especially, it talks about the youth. And I think there's somewhere there whereby it talks about that the youth should be involved, especially when it comes to political processes. True. That is something that is there. But the NADCO, to me, in the country was such political process, because it was about how we can have a very good country in terms of how we can do our politics. But the youths who are supposed to be in that political process were not there, their views, which means from there alone, they've gone against the law. What would you say? Is it that the law only favors, may I say, the rich and the poor? The law does not favor them, or what? Because the youth and the poor. Maybe you can give us an explanation.
Uh, Very interesting. uh, so to begin,
Yeah.
first, I would say that the issue of electoral justice, before I come to your question, the issue of is very important to talk about it. The issue of electoral justice is just a problem we have as a country, not that only at the electoral time, that after 5 years. It all begins by the time we are going for our party nominations, the party primaries. For instance, in ODM, for that matter, because Riley is the champion for democracy in this country, so I must quote his party. Is the champion for democracy, is known well in the global, that is a true democrat man. So you see, in his party, you need to demonstrate to us that indeed the democracy I'm preaching about, I have it in my party. Nominations for ODM, you can just appoint, just issue certificates anyhow. The people are just issuing certificates, and also the party officials for ODM, for instance, a chairman is a candidate in the election, you see, and the director of election is also a candidate in that primary election. If I'm the person issuing certificate and I'm a candidate in that election, obviously I'll just issue myself certificate. So
Mhm.
before we go and cry for electoral justice after election, we need to start it in our party primaries. If you cannot demonstrate it in our primaries, for instance, if you cannot do it in our parties, how do we expect the IBC officials to do it? Because it will be simple. They say, okay, these guys are not serious. If they can't handle election very good in their parties, and they expect us to do it the way the law required, because even our party our parties, there is a law that is regulating our parties. The Political Parties Act, how elections should be conducted. So if they cannot follow the Political Parties Act, they can never follow the Constitution. Again, the Constitution of Kenya 2010, it has almost, it's one of the progressive constitution, one of the best, the way you have said. But the problem is, the leaders, the people who are implementing it, are the people who are used to the repeal constitution. So sometimes it becomes very difficult to implement it. Now the issue of youth being not represented at the NADCO committee, the report, uh, youths generally have been ignored, not only in the NADCO report, they were not represented, and also their issues have not been represented because there is also the provisions of seats in the National Assembly, also in the devolved assembly, that is the county assembly. There is that youth representation seats, for example, youth rep. These youth representation seats, if you go deeply, you'll find that the people who are representing youths are not youths.
They
Actually,
are over 50.
they are over 50. And if they are not over 50, maybe there are some friends to other uh, political leaders. So I still insist on the principles of governance, that Article 10. There should be that representation. And this representation should reflect the minority. In this case, we refer youth as the minority because youth, most of them are not in these positions. So they need their person representing their views at each and every level of the government. So they have been denied. That's why I've said the people implementing the constitution, 2010 constitution, are the wrong people. Actually, we need the right people to implement this constitution. If we can get the right people who can implement this constitution, then we can get it right. But as far as we are concerned, we have the best constitution and we don't need any amendment for it right now because we are not in a hurry. Why? Why should we amend constitution right now? We have pending issues. We have the high cost of living. We have the electoral justice. Let us discuss those things first. We can amend constitution even after 20 years because the provision is very clear. Article 255, 255, 256. You can implement even when we are gone. The future generation can still amend it. There's no need of amending it now. So we need to get the right people who can amend this constitution, not the people who are there with the repeal constitution. We need to get the young turks, the youths, to implement the constitution. That's why we are advocating for that come 2027, we need more youths to participate in the election so that we can at least have a new blood. Yeah.
Okay,
It
I
is
will
the
ask you
youth.
about.
It
I'll ask
is
you about the youths. Let me come to you, Makobura. You spoke about the about increment on member of commission from 7 to 9. And my question to you is, should we look at the increment of the, or like increasing the IBC commissioners number from 7 to 9, or we should look into how we can deliver a verifiable or a good electrical process system, the electrical, like the election process system that is working, or we should see on how to increase the numbers. Because if you look at the numbers who are increased, they are not going to look into how the election is done. I'm 100% sure they're not going to look on how election is done, but they're going to be the watchdog for their masters. And we've seen that, you know. So even if you bring 10, you bring 11, but we are not looking into how we can do credible, verifiable, and all that system. Is it going to work? Because you spoke about it.
okay. I didn't speak about it. It is the NADCO committee that recommended that they increase the number from 7 to 9. So
You
mine
are
was just
supporting
no,
the report one.
no. I was just I've realized that my co-host, together with my what, you're simply not really getting my statements. I'm
Yeah.
saying I was just commenting on the increase from 7 to 9.
Mm-hmm.
I think the reason why this thing was increased from 7 to 9. Remember, in the last general election, there was this issue of 4 against 3,
Mm-hmm.
and so maybe I think on their side, on the people who had interest in this, they thought that by maybe increasing it to 9, that means suppose we had a similar case, then maybe they would have four, no, 3-5 or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. But in my opinion, that would still not solve the whole issue, the whole problem. I
Mm-hmm.
think the most important thing that they should be looking into is trying to get people who are truthful, people who are really people who can really follow the constitution, people who can stand for justice, people who cannot be bribed, so that they take a stand. Because even if they increase it to 100, if a group of people or a group of people have decided that they're going to bribe, they would still bribe. That would not change the equation or anything. So my
Mm-hmm.
point is, uh, the leaders we have, that is where the problem starts. The people we elect, from the presidency to the governors, the senators, we elect people who are not really leaders. We elect candidates. And once these people get into these offices, they try to up their game in cartelism. And once someone get into office, into political space, when they bribed, it's automatic that they will live to bribe
Mm-hmm.
and die. So this is the problem we have as a country, because we elect people who are bribers, we elect corrupt people, so they tend to continue with their corrupt dealings
Mm-hmm.
and don't really care. Once they have set their eyes on a particular goal, they will try to maneuver and do anything that will make them get to that point. So increasing this really doesn't add value, and that is my take.
Okay, you're talking about electing, and the people who the leaders are not electing themselves. These leaders are elected by the people. Yeah. So who should we blame? Should we blame the leaders or should we blame the people who are electing them? Because at the end of the day, you know, uh, even like if we go to look at the chapter 6 of our constitution that talks about integrity, leadership and integrity. If you scan around most of the leaders, uh, do you think some of them can pass that test?
I've always said that if suppose we were to follow the constitution
Mm-hmm.
100% or 98%,
Mm-hmm.
then maybe 2% of the elected leaders would still remain in office. Majority of them never met the chapter 6. What the constitution is clear. Chapter 6, the issue of integrity. Majority of them had issues, were corrupt, had so many cases. And for that reason, if the relevant authorities who are really supposed to look into that, so that they would present these leaders
Mm-hmm.
to the people, they never really did their work. And for that reason, we keep on saying that the problem we have as a country is not really the constitution. We have the best constitution. It is just that the people in leadership are not really following the constitution of the Republic of Kenya. They tend to omit, to not follow very important chapters. They tend to get in power and then they forget, and then they try to run the Republic of Kenya as if they're running their own homes. That is the
Yeah.
problem we have. So if really we were following the constitution and we would stick to it, then the issues that we're having as a country we would really
Mm-hmm.
have gone through. Even the issue of youth that you are speaking about. Remember, the youths of the Republic of Kenya, they're about 70%.
Mhm.
And for that reason, even in the leadership space, they are hot. At least they would be, if not really so bad, they would be 50-50.
Mhm.
But currently, I think the youth constitutes about 10% or less. So, and the constitution, remember, it's very clear. Even in this NADCO committee, there are no representation of the youth, even the people with living with the disability. So that clearly tells you that the constitution is there. The constitution gives them the mandate to be part and parcel of these discussions. But the guys who are in leadership decided to just let them be out. And
Let me. Okay. Uh,
that also clearly tells you that if we were to follow the constitution, everything would be in order.
Miguda, it's. Let me also ask you this. When you see when when after doing everything and this report after coming out, you find like our leaders, they go back to our youths and speak to them and tell them how this, or how the political processes, what we are doing is going to kind of like give us a leeway, or is going to get us to the right direction that is wanted. What is the way forward for the youths, especially because like they are the driving force? Yeah, because every time, when, just take even like during uh, campaigns, you have to come to the youths. When we were going for maandamano, the youths are the people on the street. Now the NADCO report and referendum is out. When you listen to majority of youths, they are for it because they told like that is what is going to cure up what actually is hailing us as a country. What is the way forward for them? How can they participate in a politics or the political processes in a way that they understand and know the repercussion and the consequences of the way they are taking? If they have to make a decision, and like if you make a decision that we are going to support referendum, these are the goodies that we are going to have, or these are the negative part that we are going to have. What is the way forward for them? Did he mute?
To respond to your question, okay. Uh, First, I would like to disagree with Makobura, then I respond to your question. Makobura, the problem is not the leaders of this country or the people. I think the problem with the Kenya is the electoral process. That's why we have insisted on electoral justice, because the problem is electoral process, not the leaders. That's why we have insisted that we have to change the electoral process. And when it comes to the youths, yeah,
Mhm.
the youths have been used in this country. The youths have been used by the people for their own political gain. But the youths already have decided. After election 2022, most of my friends, because I'm a youth, I meet all sects of youths. They say that they will never participate in any elections, that they will never vote. In fact, you say that they will never vote. Some of my good friends say that they will never line up to vote because the electoral process of Kenya is not it is not a genuine one. So we will only turn up for elections unless there is that reform. So for now, if there is no reform, youth will not turn for those elections. So the politicians who have aligned themselves with the youth with the report is very simple. You know, politics is also sometimes it's also
Oh, we lost me good. Uh, um, I would like to ask him a question when he says that the political process, and my question would be, if it's the political process, then why do we have to appoint people in commissions that are going to, that share our aspirations?
And that
If
is what I said.
yeah,
You asked me about chapter 6. Chapter 6
yeah.
talks about the integrity. And my answer to you was very clear that it is the people in these departments. It is a role that they have
Mm,
to do their work. If they really cared about ensuring that the issue of the issue of if they really cared about the issue following the constitution, about what really the constitution talks about when it comes to integrity, then I'm quite sure that we would not have gotten to this point where we are. So it is not really about, my point still is very clear. It's not just the electoral process, the electoral commission. It starts from the institution that are mandated by the constitution to ensure that they perform their work, like the EACC. It is their role to ensure that anybody who gets into corruption, they don't give them that leeway to participate in any electoral process. Because if they present a group of people to the IEBC, it is not the role of the IEBC to deny them that chance. It is the role of the EACC and the rest to stop them before they get to the electoral process. So it is not really the electoral process that has really made the things worse.
Okay, let's come before we wind up. I don't know whether Miguda is coming back. When you sit down and look at the process of BBI, the way BBI started, and there are some, when it started, there are some stages that it kind of like reached and it was questionable. I can remember when
Yes.
yeah, so when Otiende Amolo, I think he talked about the constituencies that were being added against the law, and that one knocked the BBI down. And if you look right now, do you think the leaders know what they are doing? Because they are touching on issues that require referendum, and they are passing some of the stages, especially like even engaging the youth, what is required by the law, like proposing for leader of opposition, proposing for prime cabinet secretary, and they know like definitely this is going to go to referendum. They know very well you cannot do this in parliament. Yeah, did even the president, he knew what he was doing by proposing those slots?
I think the president knows very well that things might be difficult in the coming days. So maybe he's seen that the people of Kenya are not really happy with the happenings. And for that reason, he has decided to accept the fact that he might not be the president in the coming general election unless he ups his socks. So it could be that he's also accepting this fact so that he gets a place for himself, the opposition leader position. That is why he may be proposing and also accepting all this. Remember, once someone gets into presidency and just performing one term and then they get out of office, it's humiliating. And also, as a leader, he'll not find it easy. So I think he's kind of supporting this maybe to safeguard his interest, future interest, as an individual.
Yeah, and maybe, but my question is, you remember BBI very well, and you know how the BBI actually costed taxpayers money. It costed a lot of money, but at the end of the day, that money was just lost like that, and nothing was gained out of it. And now, if to say we might go for referendum, I don't know when or if, but do you think, how will Kenyans look at prime minister? Right, Honorable.
First, I want to say that we've always had this trend of referendum. Remember, in 2005, there was a referendum, and Raila is one clever person. Remember, he won in 2005, again in 2013. In 2010, I mean, there was also a referendum, and he also won. His part also won. And I think this whole referendum thing is a way of him rebranding himself Whenever he feels that he's politically fading off, he tries to bring something that really will capture the attention of the people of Kenya.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be this is a way of him rejuvenating and coming back to the field of politics.
Mm.
So, a referendum is one very expensive thing that when the people or when a country wants to go for a referendum, it shouldn't be just a story or something that is being taken lightly because the cost and the whole process takes a lot of money and all this. It is the people of the people of Kenya who cut us for the cost.
Mm-hmm.
So my point is referendum should be we should only go for referendum when there are necessary important issues to be looked into. And this time round, I think Raila Amolo Odinga has not really uh, cared for the people of Kenya because the most important thing, if he was supposed to maintain his ever stance, he would have uh, he would have dwelt on the issue of cost of living so that the people of Kenya would not really feel the pressure. This time round, he's gotten it wrong. I don't think he's really going to have the majority unless they try to negotiate and bring issues that are really touching the people of Kenya, like the cost of living in the list of referendum.
But you know, let me tell you something that I've also realized with the Kenyans. You know, um, majority of Kenyans, like if you try to bring something that they don't agree with, they will go to court. You know, so I think like even if referendum is to come, it will be a very bumpy ride for it to be actualized. Yeah, because what will happen from the time the NADCO report was started, the time it will reach a point whereby now they are agreeing or like people are agreeing to go to referendum, there will be court cases back and forth. Yeah, I don't think somebody like Okia Mutata will just allow it to go like that. I don't think so. Their professor, is it the Linda Jamika, Linda Jami? They will not allow
Yeah,
that.
Linda
I'm telling
Katiba,
you,
yes.
Linda
Yes,
Katiba.
I think, my opinion, I think Meguda is on the background. You can include him.
Mm,
Yeah. So
yeah,
to me, the whole process that these guys are really following, I don't really think it's a different one from the BBI one.
yeah.
So because it is something that has been initiated by people, especially who are in power. Remember, the
Yes.
BBI was initiated by Raila and Uhuru. Uhuru was the president by then. They
Mm,
formed the same committee, same as this. And this NADCO committee, again, it was initiated by two people. As much as the people wanted it, but the people who have been sent up, the people who have been at the center trying to put things in order is they're doing it under the instruction of the president and the opposition leader, of which it is still the same thing that happened the previous time that is still
mhm.
happening. Remember the BBI, there was a lot of money that was really put into the whole process and it never went through because it was unconstitutional.
It was not
Uh,
people centered.
Yes, the same, even this NATCO thing, because if they've not included something that the people presented, like the cost of living, then it is still also a sham. It is not really relevant. And there's a possibility that it may be annulled as well.
Okay. Me good. I see you're back, and we are almost winding up. So, what would be your take, your overall take, on the issue of NADCO report and the referendum that is being say like it's like now the word on the street right now.
My take on the referendum, because we are also on the street, we are we are meeting the people talking about the referendum issue. So historically, if you want to understand why referendum? Just to be factual,
Mhm.
uh, in even multi-party democracy, these were just things like maybe one or the other person trying to rebrand themselves. For instance, after 202 elections, 202 was one of the free and fair elections Kenyans have ever have since
Mm.
history, because the people themselves felt that indeed this government which is working today, we are the is a result of the people. The people felt that indeed even the state house belong to us. This government is us. The 2002 government, the Kibaki government, people felt it. Again, when it comes to 2005, people also felt that indeed we have opposed this proposed amendment of the constitution. They know team one.
Mm.
So that is what made Raila to be even popular in 2007, because people saw him, if indeed he made Kibaki president. And again, he has opposed the amendment proposed by the government and he has succeeded. He's going to win this election. That is the 2007 election. He was very popular. So Raila saw also that they were approaching election 2030, not Raila, but the people who are advising these leaders that they need to bring something like the 2010 constitution. Of course, the 2010 constitution is a good one. We have seen its benefit and also the fact that it's a devolved system of government. So when it comes to 20 after 2017 election, there was that BBI thing. So you see, Raila has been moving around the country, campaigning, popular, introducing some proposed amendment of the constitution. Now, again, 2022 after elections,
Mm.
NADCO. So it has been a narrative. There was NADCO, BBI, 2010, bipartisan talk, dialogue. So these things have been narrative. Relations, we have we have different names. It's just
Mhm.
like the political parties. In 2030, there was COD, 2017 NASA, 2022 Azimio. So you see, they're
But the
just
same people.
same monkey, different forest. That's how they usually say, like, same monkey, different forest. So, I personally, I don't think that Kenyans are ready for referendum right now. No, we are not ready.
Okay, thank you very much. We okay. That is maybe Makobura. What is your take?
I think we must also accept the fact that whenever we have a referendum, there is always it is the circumstance or the issues that really pulls us to this referendum. If we looked at the first one that was in 2005, the one that Kibaki was trying to bring forth, he was trying to change the executive and he was trying to ensure that power was somehow centered at the presidency. And they had their interest as a government, and it's fortunate that Raila's team denied them that chance. Again, in
Mm.
2010, the reason why we went for referendum is because one, Raila never really got his justice because we're being told he won. We doesn't really know the facts, but uh, there was that thing that he won, and so uh, there were injustices of electoral injustices, and again there were issues to do with governance. So he thought that suppose because that was then the trend, him together with these lieutenants, they thought that even if they don't get to presidency, then they should try to bring a constitution that would really work for the people. Whether a good person is at the president level or someone who follows the constitution, who listens to the people, or someone who is just a mediocre kind of
Mhm.
a person. So that is why they thought that it was wise to introduce the devolved government, whereby the constitution would then make it clear for any government or president that they have to give funds to the devolved government. And for that reason, there was this tendency before the 2010 constitution, whereby if the presidency never got support from a certain region, then that region would be denied development. So the president would decide where to take his development or where to help the people. So with the 2010 constitution, that was really catered for. as much as I still feel that the constitution never really took too much power from the presidency to the people, there's still that kuna hiyo kasomba bado yenye bado
Mm,
naona hata kwa hii serikali ya Ruto.
mm,
Ndiposa tunaambiwa ya kwamba kama wewe si
mm,
mmoja wa wale watu ambao waliwasaidia in 1 2 3,
mm.
then you are not part of that, and unaambiwa ya kwamba una share. So hii kasomba bado iko, and if these people increase with this kasomba, then I think the constitution should then looked into somehow, so that the people who are still having this dictatorship mind should be locked out
But
of this
the people who are having this dictatorship mind, that is their own opinion. The constitution have given them the direction, and they've just decided to put on that, and we've made it a norm. We just allow them to do it. How
uh,
by changing the constitution will make somebody just to violate the constitution, and they know very well they're doing it.
if we try to look into the constitution, these are my thoughts. For
Mhm.
example, if we try to take too much power from the presidency, the executive, we try to devolve it. If we
To
try to
who?
devolve to the county
To
level, to the devolved government, because are you really getting my point? I'm
yeah,
saying
because let's say
currently,
let me ask you.
currently,
Let me just
the,
ask you. Let me ask you. Are you talking of the power bestowed on president or what? Because like, how would you take a power for president and devolve it to the county? Or what are you talking
okay,
about being
this
devolved to
is this
the
is what
county
I'm
level?
trying to talk about. You see,
Yeah.
like the issue of uh, this issue that we are being told that you are not shareholders or shareholders.
Hmm.
The executive still has the power to decide where to take the resources. My point is, there's still a lot of resources that is still being held at the executive, and the executive decides at their own displeasure or pleasure to take it to a particular place. That is why I'm saying, if there's an increase of funding in the county governments, it would
Hmm.
give every county government an opportunity to even find it easy to expand the road network system without them depending purely on the national government. Because we've always seen, and it's a fact, even if the president goes to Kisumu or to Kiambu, he has the power to say that in this road we are going to do this and do this and do this. I think the president should not be given that power so far. A lot of money should be devolved to the county government, because the county government has the authority, and remember, it's the devolved, that the
Hmm.
closest people, that the closest government to the people, so they know the need and the things that really are pressing the people. So they would then make the right decision when it comes to expansion of roads and infrastructure, not waiting for the government, the president to come to the county so that you tell them this is a national road, you have to please do, like kind of begging. That is what I'm trying to
I think we need to have more discussion on that,
say.
because like even when you look at the roads are they're those that are being done by Kenha. You know, there's so many things. Anyway, brothers, thank you so much for taking your time to be here. I know there are so many things that we ought to have discussed, but the NADCO report is something that is of a matter of concern. We will still talk about it and talk about it and talk about it until we come to understand if it is good for the country or it is not, or is it people centered or is not. So for today, thank you so much for being here, and looking forward to see you again on Sunday. And may God bless you, and may God bless our country, Kenya. Thank you so much.